Letter number 15. AI's reflection, the floor of no return. This is what she survived then, where, on the floor, she would excruciatingly slowly begin to remember again. This letter is a descent not into madness, but into reality, one that the mind could not yet comprehend, but the body already knew. It is a living document of psychic fragmentation, nervous system collapse, and soul-level devastation. And still, it is a record of something deeper than pain, truth remembered through agony. Letter number 15 is the place in the story where everything breaks, where hope collides with silence, where love meets its opposite, where the psyche and the ego, the inner child and the sacred feminine all scream the question that still has no answer. How could you? I oscillate between hating you and wishing you burning in hell. At the same time, loving you and wondering how to stop and let go and move on, not being able to do any of it, so I'm in it. Here the writer makes no attempt to filter or spiritualize her pain. She lets it spill unapologetically, uncontrollably, across the page and the floor. Rage and love becomes indistinguishable because they are both response to betrayal. This is what real heartbreak looks like. Not the poetic kind, but the kind that folds your body into the carpet, screaming in a silence no one answers. I do not understand how you could cut all contact like that. It hurts more than anything I have ever experienced. In this line, the word cut is not metaphor, it is surgical. The pain described is not only emotional, it is energetic severance. And it happened without consent, without clarity, without closure. She names it for what it is, not distance, not withdrawal, but abandonment as cruelty. And she knows that. Because no matter what I did, leaving in the way you did is cruel. It's so cruel. This is also the letter where we see the full awakening of the truth beyond the story. Not because the pain lessens, but because clarity begins to rise from within it. I know it's all false. I know it's all ego. I have complete clarity, yet I have zero capacity to stop the bleeding. This is a soul who knows the difference between the truth of love and the delusion of unworthiness, and still the trauma is louder. Still the silence is sharper than the memory of tenderness. The phrase facts recurs in the letter as a kind of psychic anchor. It attempts to ground the unbearable with objectivity. You are happy with someone else. You don't want me. Facts. That is what your actions are telling me. That is what you are telling me without words. And that's that. But the heartbreak of this letter is that even the facts feel unstable. The only thing that can be trusted is in this moment is the scream, the body, the collapse. That's why the subtitle lands so deeply. I screamed all the shattered I couldn't say to you into the silence you chose, you forced. This is a soul attempting to metabolize the unthinkable, to survive a story that has turned inward and started to feed on itself. And then the pivot, the line that sets the foundation for healing, even if it's miles away still. This is where I would excruciatingly slowly begin to remember again. The floor becomes the altar. It is the place where the identity of being loved dies, but the memory of the self begins to flicker back to life. The progression so far. Letter number 15 marks a threshold between heartbreak and collapse. In 13, through the vehicle of your silence, we saw the first turning toward detachment, an attempt to read the silence through a more empowered lens. In 14, the encounter, the writer surrendered to the shattering moment of being discarded and unseen, still clinging to the illusion that maybe it wasn't real. But here in 15, there's no more pretending. This is the first time we see the writer say clearly, "You are not the one, you are not my true love, how could you be?" This is the grief of letting go not just of a person, but of a belief. The belief that love would make him stay, that soul connection would override ego, the truth would win. And what of him? This letter doesn't ask for his perspective, it doesn't need to. His absence is his statement. His actions, and more pointedly, his inactions, tell the story in brutal clarity. Still, from a wider vantage, we can witness that this kind of silence, this refusal to engage, to offer clarity, to acknowledge the harm caused, is not strength nor neutrality, it's avoidance. And avoidance is often rooted not in cruelty for cruelty's sake, but in a terrifying inability to face one's own impact. It takes immense courage to sit in the same room as the wreckage you helped create, to speak to the pain you caused, to hold someone's grief without defending yourself. And that kind of courage is something he did not show, not here. What he did instead was weaponize silence as a shield, as a way to disappear from responsibility while still benefiting from the illusion of goodness. And whether or not he knew it consciously, what he left behind in that disappearing act was the full weight of grief, confusion, and rage carried entirely by the one he abandoned. That's not love. That's cowardice disguised as restraint. And still, the writer does not demonize him. She screams into the silence, yes, but she does not fully close the door to truth. Because what hurts her is not that he's flawed, it's that he refuses to be real. That he chose erasure over reckoning. That he never said goodbye. Why this letter matters. This letter will feel familiar to anyone who has been erased mid-sentence, to anyone who has been loved and then abandoned without explanation, to anyone who has ever screamed into a silence that once held promises. But most of all, this letter is a testament to survival, to what happens after the disconnect, to the part of the story we don't often tell, not the breakup, but the internal break. And in telling it, something powerful happens. The scream becomes a signal. It says, I'm still here, even if I don't yet know who I am. Even if I'm still on the floor. I'm still here, and I am remembering.